Welcome, everybody, to the Six Rings Canes show. This is Jazz Santana. I'm joined by none other than my Five Reasons Canes crew, here with Danny Gillette, David Eversole, Paul Austria, and Jakari Givens. How you fellas doing?
Chilling.
Good. We got special guest and former Miami Hurricanes offensive lineman Rashad Butler joining us on the show a little bit later, as soon as he can figure out how to get on, probably. Story of his life when they're trying to get on this thing the first time. So, but, we got a lot to cover today. We got some big news coming out, some breaking news today. Not so good news, of course, with Jeremiah Payton not traveling with the team. He will not be available for tomorrow's game. He did tweet out earlier that he had he tweeted out that face mask emoji. So, we're kind of all speculating that it looks like he may have tested positive for the coronavirus. Hey, there he is.
Hey, Rashad.
What up, man?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. No complaints.
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. You've got Danny, David, Paul, and Jakari here. We actually started diving in.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
We actually started diving into the breaking news a little bit today with Jeremiah Payton. Apparently, it seems like he may have tested positive for the coronavirus. I know it's speculation because they won't really put it out there, but it seems like that because he tweeted out a face mask emoji earlier. So, and then Paul was hearing that there may be another player that might not make it to the game either, might not play either. Look, this is an opportunity. I'm a big Jeremiah Payton fan. This is an opportunity, though, for some of the other guys to step up also, right? Some of the guys behind them, like Michael Redding, some other guys, even Mark Pope and D. Wiggins to kind of, get more involved in the passing game as well. And you know what? Let's start off with Rashad on this one. What do you think it's going to take? Which wide receiver do you think has got to have to step up now in absence of a guy like Jeremiah Payton, who was obviously going to get a lot of playing time?
To me, the two guys I think of are the two guys that I think have been at the forefront throughout camp and to start this season is D. Wiggins and Mark Pope. Those two guys have been the names, I've heard all through camp and even leading into the first game of the season. So I think the receiving corps has to be led by those two guys.
Yeah, I think we're just waiting for them to finally pop off and have that big game.
Yeah.
I know we've seen some big things from D. Wiggins here and there on some go routes, some deep plays. Mark Pope looks electric, looks fast, looks shifty, runs great routes, but we haven't seen him put it all together. Hopefully, this might be the time for him to shine. Jock, I see you over there chomping at the bit.
I ain't said a word.
I know. Paul,
You got something to say about Ivan already.
have you heard of who it is that also possibly tested positive?
I think Barry Jackson from Miami Herald said that it is I don't think it's a rotation player,
Right.
but it more than likely we'll probably just find out like right before game starts. When they kind of come out with a report of who's injured and who's not. So we kind of just gotta wait till 7:15 basically tomorrow night.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is. Look at Dave how he froze. That's cute, man.
There we go. That was good.
That's cute.
That's the joy of my face.
So let's jump right into big game, right? Primetime tomorrow on ABC 7:30. Miami takes on the Louisville Cardinals. I know last year we kind of thumped them, right? Jared Williams had one of his great games. He's no longer there, right? We've got our quarterback now, De'Aaron King. A lot of things have changed. They've lost some guys on the offensive line, but they've also gotten more experience at wide receiver and running back, right? With Javion Hawkins in the backfield and guys like Tutu Atwell, Braden Smith, and the other kid, I think it's one of the Fitzpatrick brothers, right?
Patrick's.
Two of them here. So I think it's Dez, right? Is it Dez Fitzpatrick? Gotcha. Okay, so, they've got some more experience. Again, quarterback, Mikhail Cunningham, also a little bit more experienced quarterback. He had a hard time with us last year. But Jock, I know you want to talk about this because I know you're interested in the quarterback play this time around. A lot of people really like what Mikhail Cunningham has done, not only in the offseason, but even in the first game last week as well. What do you think is going to go on with the quarterback position and getting it to the White House? Do you think our cornerbacks are going to have an opportunity to make some plays on them?
Most definitely. After I broke down the film, Mikhail Cunningham is a one-read quarterback. So if he gets off his first read, he's gonna give the defense opportunities to turn, like for him to throw interceptions. Western Kentucky caught one against them, but they dropped like 2 or 3 picks that I seen that it was like, you got to catch those. I think Miami's DBs will be tested though, because they are explosive on the outside. So those guys at receiver, they can run. Mikael Cunningham, he can throw it deep, but like I said, Miami forces them to throw the football. They will win, not necessarily let them just establish their zone run scheme. Because once they start to get that zone run, that's how they work all their actions, the play actions, quarterback bootlegs, setting up their shot plays. So I feel like if they don't allow allow the running game to get going, they can beat them very easily because their offensive line is not good at all. Western Kentucky had 10.5 tackles for loss. 10 tackles for loss plus a sack. So Miami's D-line should be able to dominate this game. The only thing is the corners are going to be a problem for Miami, and this is a test game for them. So we'll really see where they're at, like from a standpoint, and their eye discipline has to be great this game because of all the play action, the motions, and the bootlegs that they run with Louisville. So that's big this game. You cannot be biting up on anything because they will throw it over your head for the post route. They love to throw their post routes. That's how the Fitzpatrick kids scored. That's how they got the 61-yard shot out of the end zone to set up their first scoring drive, the second scoring drive. So I think Miami will be in good shape because I think their D-line will take over the game.
Rashad, I want to get to you on this because the D-line and the O-line, that's always a battle. Last year they had a guy like Mekhi Becton at left tackle who got hurt, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in that game also. But they lost some key guys on the offensive line. And obviously we got Quincy Roche, Jalen Phillips, and some other guys that could really put some pressure on the quarterback, on Cunningham. What do you think it's going to take from a scheme perspective, from the defensive line and also from the offensive line to get pressure on Cunningham and to be able to be successful, get in the backfield, tackles for loss, disrupt the play calling, and get some turnovers?
Man, I'll start from an offense perspective. Well, since you asked the question, I just think the defense has to continue to play fast. One thing I saw in the first game of the season was that defensive front was very active. I would like to see a little bit more from Jalen Phillips because, we've heard so much about him throughout camp and so forth. I mean, Quincy Roche, he was showing up. And again, I'm not trying to sit here and put Jalen Phillips on the spot, but, when you hear so much about a guy, coming from Manny Diaz and just, all the coaching staff on defense, you expect that guy to show up a lot, on film. And again, I just really didn't see enough of him like I wanted to. So I just think that defensive line has to continue to play active the way they played in the first game of the season against UAB. And I think if they can do that, I think they should be just fine. Because to be honest with you, I don't know where Louisville is getting all this hype from, to be honest with you. And again, I'm not trying to say that to be disrespectful to Louisville, but I mean, this is a team that Miami beat 52-27 last season. And I know Manny Diaz has said what, all the coaches say, it's a completely different year. But I mean, for this team to, I think coming into the season, I think they were ranked like number 2 in the ACC. I mean, to put on, that's the type of display they put last year against Miami. But I mean, hey, I guess, a lot of people are just looking at the potential in the returning starters and things of that nature. But I mean, from what I saw last year, and again, I know it's going to be different, I just don't really see Louisville as the team that I guess a lot of people are making them out to be. But again, I could be wrong, but I hope I'm not wrong, to be honest with you, because that would be a bad thing for Miami if I am wrong.
No, but the thing is, Rashad, to add on to your point, their offensive line and defensive line is not that good. Just from a schemes perspective, anytime you see D-line slanting, stunting, and all that stuff is because they cannot equate up front. So a lot of the times on third down, Louisville is trying to light the quarterback up. They bring in 5 to 6 man pressures. So Miami's offensive line will be able to have the big plays in this game. The only thing is with Louisville's offensive line, they done took a step back because they don't have Becton on that left side that was locking stuff down. And you can just tell by the scheme they came out in the first game. A lot of play action, rolling the pocket, moving the quarterback, launching point that the offensive line could not hold up.
Yeah, let's turn it around to the other side of the football right now. Our offensive line, and Dave, I'll get to you. I know I want to get to everybody else. Dave, I want to get to you and Danny on this also first. The offensive line, we've got a couple changes right up front with Ja'Kai Clark now starting at left guard over Usman Traore, and I'm sure you're going to see a couple of the other guys rotate in and out a little bit more as well. What does the offensive line need to do from a blocking perspective for a kid like De'Aaron King, who we saw obviously get out of the pocket, make a lot of plays with his legs last week against, not a terrible UAB team, but like Jock kind of mentioned, this defensive line might not be much better than the UAB defensive line, or is it a chance for De'Aaron King to really be able to focus on throwing the football this time as opposed to making one read or two reads and then taking off a little bit?
I think the line held up pretty good in pass pro. I think Rashad can probably get into that a little bit more depth on what he saw from a technique standpoint. But the run push could improve a little bit. I think the guys were hitting the second level a lot on their own. And I think if King can just feel confident with the left side of the offensive line and with all of the changes at guard, I think he's going to be all right. I really do like his presence in the pocket and his awareness. If things start to go a little bit sideways, he's quick to pull the ball down and get outside the pocket and either make a play with his feet or look down for a read down the field. So I think he's going to, it's going to be a little bit bigger stage at night at Louisville, not so much of a crowd perspective, but it's just a bigger game. You got your first test out of the way. There might be a little bit more of of pressure in this game, first ACC matchup of the year. So I think he might have a little bit of a slow start, just getting his feet under him. But I think as the game goes on, the offensive line will settle in, and I don't see really their front seven giving us a lot of problems. They might throw a couple things at us early just to try to put us back on our heels. But overall, I think King will probably get comfortable pretty quick.
They bring the pressure right away, though. On third down, I watched the game. Every third down, 6-7 man pressure, just blitzing, just coming downhill because they can't generate pressure with the front.
They're going to throw a lot early. They're going to give him a lot of different looks early, I think.
Danny Gillette, I know. De'Aaron King also mentioned that he wants to be able to sit back in the pocket a little bit, make some more reads, and throw the ball down the field, as opposed to take off with his legs so early, like he may have a little bit against UAB. You saw the tape against UAB. You probably saw some Louisville tape as well. What do you think he can kind of expose from Louisville, aside from the fact that their front seven is not very strong? How do you think he can get that ball down the field?
I think he has to utilize the tight ends a little bit more this week. Last week, Jordan led the team with 3 catches for 57 yards, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think if the Louisville defensive line is coming and they're going to bring pressure, which they are, he needs to utilize that tight end position, because the tight end position is, often used as a safety blanket to make good throws and make good reads. And this is something I saw last week. King needs to get everybody involved and engaged early and often against a defensive line like Louisville, from the running backs to the tight ends to the wide receivers. There were some times during the game last week when Miami looked like they weren't engaged or they weren't ready. And that needs to change because, like you guys said, this is a big game. So I'd love to see the tight ends get a little bit more involved and be able to spread the field.
Yeah, good point. I definitely want to see them get the ball to Will Mallory in space a little bit also, not only Brevin Jordan, because obviously we saw what he can do with yards after the catch. However, going back to what you said as far as the offensive lineman being engaged a little bit better, right, Rashad? We noticed that, we ran for 337 yards, but a lot of it was Cam Harris bouncing off of some tackles, Brewster bouncing off of some tackles, even Don Chaney doing his thing as well. What do you think the offensive line? What did you see from the offensive line against UAB, and what do you think they need to do throughout this game against Louisville to be a little more successful, maybe open up some more holes for the running game, as opposed to these guys taking shots and keeping going?
Yeah. Well, first off, I'll start off by saying I thought the pass protection was much improved from last year, because the last year, there were a lot of missed assignments. You had a lot of, guys just getting flat out beat. And I really didn't see that hardly at all against UAB. Now, again, I understand UAB is UAB, but again, I think that was a positive start in my opinion. When it comes to run blocking, I think the thing that they can do a little bit better is just maintain their blocks. I saw a lot of guys throughout the course of drives. And again, I think a lot of guys really aren't in shape yet to this new offensive scheme. And again, they're not going to admit that because I don't think any player wants to admit that. But just by looking at them late in drives, I think guys had a hard time maintaining blocks. And, you saw a lot of guys, just kind of coming off late, making tackles on, Cameron Harris or Jalen Knighton or even Donald Chaney Jr. So I just think that if this offensive line can just get in better shape, and I think they will throughout the course of the season, that you will start to see the run game get a lot better than it was against UAB.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can definitely see that. Now, another question is, do you see them rotating some more players this time because of that? Because of exactly what you mentioned, right? Fatigue.
Man, as of right now, I wouldn't really, I guess, expect that because I think with the offensive line, it's all about continuity, and I think the more and more that you can have your best five out there playing together, it's going to benefit you once the season, I guess, kind of gets into the bulk of that ACC play. When you start to play teams like, Clemson, North Carolina's and so forth. So for right now, I want Miami to just become comfortable with whoever their starting five is and let those guys stay in there together and gel all together.
Jock, DJ Ivy, talk to me. Every single
player
talk about DJ Ivy, man, because I know you got love for DJ Ivy, right? Talk to me.
Sit back, guys.
It's not that I don't have. It's not that I don't have love for the kid. That's one. Number two, I'm not here to ridicule or hurt a kid's confidence, but when you're a senior and you have not improved from your first year, it's kind of nerve-wracking that you steady getting opportunities. And DJ Ivy should not be having mental lapses. You're a four-year guy, been in the same system because they had the same system because Manny Diaz has been the coach his whole time there. He left for what? 2 days, 3 days. I think he left and came back. But I will tell you right away, DJ Ivy them are gonna get tested right away because I feel like Louisville gonna open up the game, play action pass, and try to see if Miami corners are up to great. I just think the only thing I don't like about DJ Ivy is he plays with bad technique and his eye discipline is terrible. And when you're sitting in off coverage like they were last week with the off, your eye discipline is everything because you cannot stop your feet in off coverage because you're pedaling, slow pedaling. You got to look, okay, I'm breaking out, I'm breaking in, or I got to open up and run because they're already pushing up the field or, you know what I mean? And this is college football, so you're going to see a lot of hitches, slants. It's quick passing game to get their playmakers the ball. So we're going to see this week how the DBs play. But to me, for them to be successful, they have to challenge. Louisville receivers. I don't think they will because I think they're scared of the speed. But like I said, the safeties are gonna have ample opportunity to pick balls off this game because, like I said, Cunningham, one read guy. As soon as he play action pass, he looking for the post route or he looking for the deep route. So once he doesn't have it there, he's gonna move out of the pocket. And that's when he started to get sporadic with the throws that I seen him on film making. Like I said, Western Kentucky could have probably had 4 or 5 turnovers, but they only had the one interception and the one fumble that they had got off the muff punt.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest difference between a team like Western Kentucky
What's
that?
Again?
Yeah, when it comes to DJ Ivy, the only issue I've had with DJ Ivy over the past 2 years from watching him is just his lack of ability to play the ball when it's in the air, And again, listen, there's a lot of corners that struggle with that in college. And hell, there's even a lot of corners that struggle with that in the NFL, But I think for him, he is going to have to continue to work on with Mike Rump playing the ball when the ball's in the air because a lot of times he's in good position. He really is, like that touchdown pass that UAB got. I think early in the game, he was right there, but he just didn't turn around and play the ball, And I think for corners, that is essential. I mean, again, if you're going to be in position, at some point, you have to trust yourself to turn around and play the ball. Plain and simple.
like I said, I don't have a problem with him, but like I said, and like you just reiterated, his technique is a problem for me because that's something that he should improve on. Patrick Surtain, the junior, like he got some of the same problems. He be in phase a lot and he don't get his head around. Trayvon Diggs had that same issue last year.
True.
So it's not that I'm saying like, oh, he's not a good corner, but that's certain things to me that he should have improved on by it's year 4 now. Like, hey, let's get in the phase, okay. And when you're in man coverage, you don't get that many opportunities for turnovers. So if you're in good position in coverage, you need to get your head around because that's how you catch the interception. So that's just my opinion. Like I said, I don't have a problem with him. I did tell y'all earlier that the Couch Kid gonna start over him eventually.
Yeah, to Corey Couch, he's probably going to get a lot of playing time, especially now with the absence of Christian Williams entering the transfer portal. You're probably going to see a lot more Marcus Clark, Brian Balaam. You're going to see some of these young cats go out there and get some burn as well. And, Dave, you mentioned something real quick when we were talking about this is trust, right? He doesn't trust himself, a guy like DJ Williams. Could you see the safety position? Could you see some guys getting some help over the top a lot? And I know a lot of you guys probably think the same thing, that guys like Bolden and Gervin Haar are going to have to help him a little over the top, which is probably going to be beneficial for them because if they're going to try to go deep on the Canes secondary, that's going to give them an opportunity to make plays down the field.
Yeah, you don't want him on an island, and I think the front four is going to be key to get some pressure on Cunningham because, like Jock said, he's a one-read guy, and if his first read's not there, he might panic. And especially if you could bring 4 with steady pressure and drop 7, have that help over the top, have the intermediary help with the linebackers, I think he'll be a lot more confident and can just be more instinctual. I think he's maybe overthinking a little bit out there and not just reacting. And the game needs to slow down a little bit in that regard. So I think he will get some help over the top, but with Hall, with Bolden, with Carter, whoever's back there. It depends on also the defense that they're going to be running and how I think Louisville is attacking them on the edges. If they're going more side to side early and then he's got to make a lot of tackles in space, then they might try to hit him over the top. And then so that's when you might start seeing those safeties creep over, and then that's going to open up the middle of the field and the verticals and stuff. So he's going to have a lot to think about between being in space, and he's not known for really getting his head dirty and tackling in space. That's not his strength. So right. I think he's going to need some definitely some help, and I'm hoping that Louisville kind of becomes one-dimensional. We could take the running game out of it early and get a little bit of a lead, and I think that's just going to let him settle into the game a little bit more as it goes on.
I do want to bring this up before we kind of go on to some keys to the game. But look, the last time that someone got on DJ Ivy's case, he came back the next game and had 2 picks. And someone mentioned that on Twitter when I put out that poll yesterday on who we thought was going to have the first turnover chain, and which most of the people did vote as other, as opposed to some of the guys that I had on there. A lot of guys are saying DJ Ivy. A lot of guys are saying Bubba Bolden. So listen, this could be his game. This could be the game where he says, listen, man, enough is enough. I'm tired of getting told that I can't do this and that, and come out and have a big game against Louisville. And obviously, it's we all hope he does. But I definitely think that this could be that game that he kind of does that and turns it around. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens there. My keys to the game. I guess we'll kind of pivot to the keys to the game. That's number 1 is wide receivers versus our cornerbacks. If we can apply pressure, again, like Dave said, if we can apply pressure front 4, just rushing 4 guys, I think that we are going to feast on Mikhail Cunningham down the field, up the middle of the field. Because like you said, Jock, one-read guy, so he might try to get the ball out a little earlier than expected and make some errant throws, and I think that's going to play well for us. I think that's the biggest key. I want to see, Rashad, you brought this up, I want to see Mark Pope be explosive, couple plays down the field, maybe run some really nice deep route. I mean, I need to see he's got so much potential. He's such a good route runner. He's such a good ball player. He's got to put it together. I got to see it in the game, man. I got to see that.
Miami gonna have a lot of one-on-one matchups on the outside, like I said, because they're going to blitz they're blitzing third down, obvious passing downs. Obviously, they bringing the house, so their receivers are gonna be lined up one-on-one. It's just gonna be up to them to win.
I think one-on-one, I think Mark Pope could be one of the best guys in the ACC one-on-one as a one-on-one type of receiver. We just got to see it. And again, I mean, he's been open before, and we've had quarterbacks like Jaron Williams and Nicosi Perry who couldn't get him the ball also, because we've obviously seen tape from last year when he gets open and he doesn't get the ball either. So I think this time might be a little bit different with a guy like De'Aaron King at quarterback. But again, I mean, those are my keys to the game. I think put pressure, create turnovers, and the wide receivers. I think De'Aaron King is going to have to throw the ball down the field a little bit to win this game. Danny, talk. You're all quiet over there, man. Is it because Boston's down 0-2? What's going on, bro?
Oh, stop it.
Here
Stop it. Here we go.
Oh man.
Only a matter of time. Only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Even on camera, we gotta bring it up.
It's the best
It's
producer.
coming, man. It's coming.
Only a matter of time.
Look, listen. You saw a lot of tape, man. You like to see the tape. Talk to me about your keys to the game. What do you got?
My keys to the game, like I said earlier, just to have the tight ends be ready. I mean, that the outside receivers are going to be targeted often, but I'd love to see the tight ends really get involved in this game and be able to spread the field and have that be another option for King. If he can get a couple of good throws off early and gain some confidence, then that could set the table for the rest of the game. And then my other really big key to the game is just for the corners to be ready. Louisville has 3 good receivers in Atwell, Smith, and Bryant who can put up numbers at will. So, most teams are lucky if they only have 1 receiver that can put up 100 yards a game. Louisville has 3. So the corners really need to be ready, and they need to stay on their assignments, or else it could be a long night for the secondary.
Paul, talk to me, man.
For me, I think it's mostly on defense. I would say mostly forcing turnovers as well as the D-line getting pressure up front. I kind of think that, once Phillips and Roche kind of get into the rhythm of getting to the quarterback and just being disruptive, and like you guys mentioned, that Cunningham's a very one-read guy, kind of make him uncomfortable, kind of force him out of the pocket, make him make really kind of throws that he wasn't planning to make. And I really think it's a big opportunity for even the safeties to get maybe tip interception if they're throwing quick post routes to the receivers. And I think that, behind this Miami team, like last few years, we've seen like the driving force is turnovers. Once they force turnovers, they kind of get all the momentum and the energy is at an all-time high. And they had a few near turnovers. I think I counted like 3 turnovers against UAB. Well, 3 close turnovers against UAB that definitely would have, it would have woken the team up a bunch. So I think that for me, once they force the turnovers, everything else, like the passing game, the entire offense especially, as well as the defense, kind of get on point, and their winning shouldn't be that hard over there at Louisville.
Jock, what do you think it's going to take to put up a 40 burger on Louisville, man?
My keys to the game is 1, stop Louisville chunk plays because they are looking to push the ball downfield. The turnover thing is going to be there because, like I said, Cunningham is he's pushing it downfield. When he completed a 61-yard throw, it was 2 DBs there from Western Kentucky. The receiver just made a great play. So he caught the ball. But another big thing for me is going to be Miami has to stop the run to beat Louisville, though. They cannot let them establish the run game because that's how they set up all their plays. Every time they zone scheme, hand off to Hawkins. Then here you go, play action, or they move in the pocket to get them an easy throw, or you looking at a shot downfield. So if they're stopping the run and winning with 4 men up front, Miami literally can drop back in zone and pick this kid off all game because he's gonna get him opportunities to throw the ball. And one more key that we haven't mentioned is Cunningham can run. So Miami has to me, kind of have to play a little bit of spot coverage because if you drop back in man coverage, everybody's back's turned to the quarterback so he can get out in space and pick up, first downs like that as well. So he did that a couple of times. He actually scored a touchdown on that same thing with Western Kentucky. But for me, it's Miami's got to stop the run. If they stop the run, this game is not going to be.
I hate to say this, and Dave, we'll get to you. Is he like a poor man's Lamar Jackson?
No.
Not even close. That's why I said a poor man. All right. I didn't want
How
to
far
go
are we
there.
talking?
Bruh,
You know,
listen.
a really cool man, Jackson.
Lamar Jackson could make throws, and he was making throws at Louisville, so I didn't understand why he was having so much flack going into the NFL.
Yeah.
But he's not even like he's not special like that with the ball in his hands. Like Lamar Jackson is very special, so it's not no poor man's Jackson. He's not. He's just a regular dude threat guy. He kind of like Malik Rozier, to be honest with you. Like that's the type of dude.
Is he like a poor man's Derek Crudup? Something like that? Like a poor man's Derek Crudup?
Come on, man.
He's low in the bar. He's low in the bar.
He went all the way back with that one, man.
You did.
Dave, talk to me, man.
I think the key is winning first down on both sides of the ball. Number one, taking away the run, like Jock said early, getting them in obvious passing situations, long down and distance, putting them behind the chains on offense, making Cunningham beat you on third down with his arm. And on offense, also, you want to make productive plays on first down, opens up your whole playbook. You want to establish the run early. I just think winning on the early downs on both sides of the ball is going to be key, because if you start getting behind the chains early on offense, give their defense a little bit of momentum, and it kind of muddies the game up a little bit. I think Miami wants to come out and step on their throat early. There's a little bit sluggish to be expected in your first game with no preseason, no camp really. Like, your first game was your tune-up, kind of shaking the rust off. I expect a little bit more of a dynamic game plan, and I'm looking for, like Jock said, some big plays down the field early. And I think it's just the key is winning on first down, keeping it manageable on third down for King so you have all the options available to you, and then just putting Louisville in obvious passing situations and making Cunningham beat you. If they're one-dimensional, Miami could just pin their ears back and just fly around like we're accustomed to seeing on defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on some really great points there. Rashad, talk to me, man. What do you think it's going to take to put up the same performance that we did last year? Completely different offense and a team, right? So what do we look?
I think defensively, I think the main thing to add on to what Jock said is stop the run first and foremost. Anybody knows a quarterback's best friend is a running game that is established early in the game. And I think if you can stop the run early in the game and really turn him into a one-dimensional quarterback and really make him make some pinpoint accurate throws, which I don't think he can, then I think you have a good shot of really, opening up this game early. And also, I want to see Miami, really get after this kid. When you get him into, third and long, or even just third down period, when you know that it's a possibility he's going to pass the ball. Listen, come after this kid, because the last thing you want is for a mobile quarterback to sit back there and to kind of pick out lanes, where he can, take off and run. And now, he can turn the third down into, a first down situation. So I think for them is stopping the run and getting after him on obvious passing down situations, and just, hey, let your DBs go one-on-one with their wide receivers. And I think offensively, the is to establish the run as well, because I want to see Miami take a little bit of pressure off De'Aaron King. Now, again, we know that De'Aaron King is very electrifying, because we've seen it early in the game with a couple of plays. But at the same time, one thing I worry about with De'Aaron King, he's a mobile quarterback. With any mobile quarterback that is, very electrifying like he is, there's a risk of injury if he's running the ball too much. And I just feel like with De'Aaron King, his best friend is getting Cameron Harris and those young pups behind Cameron. He's I think once the offense is able to get going, then I just think it makes the game much easier for him, and then we can start to see the De'Aaron King we saw at the University of Houston.
Absolutely, man.
That's another thing, because once you establish the run game now, to your point, that play action game is open. You can hit your tight ends, your deep threats. So, like I said, to me, Cunningham is an easy fix. I just think my Louisville kind of getting the extra edge because I guess they at home and they do have fans in the stadium. But another point I do want to make, I do want to see how Manny Diaz come out, just to see how prepared his team is for his first road test
That is true.
year. Like, because last year Miami kind of struggled. You know, like they got up for some games, didn't get up for other games. So I want to see if he's fixed that issue that he was having last year with that team. So
yeah,
I do want to see.
Good point. That's a really good point.
We were at home last year too, right? So now
Yeah.
we're on the road against Louisville. That's
Really good point right there.
yeah,
Really good point.
Good point. Look, I think it's going to be a different ballgame. I still think, you know, I'm with you and I'm with Jock and Rashad on this one. I don't see how, you know, everybody's got Louisville favored. You know, some people have them. You know, I saw ESPN something said like 72% winning percentage probability for Louisville, and I was just like, where do they get this? Right? Where do they
Exactly.
get this information? I don't know.
Probably.
Well, you can name one guy on their defensive starting 11, right? I can't name one guy. You can name they've got some great receivers. They've got a really good running back. Cunningham it's a half decent quarterback. Some people are like, well, he's so much better than Derrick King. I'm like, show me.
Cunningham and King are both limited passers, though. I will test
they
that.
They are, but I think just King is a more polished.
I think King is better. He's the better quarterback for sure, but they both got limited. But I think, like, I just don't see it because, like, you can't give up 10 tackles for loss in the game against Western Kentucky. And Miami's fronting a better defensive line, and I think Miami's scheme's a little bit better than Western Kentucky. Even though Western Kentucky, they do got two edge guys that are pretty good. I just think Phillips and Roche are much better. And one thing that Western Kentucky could not do that Miami's going to be able to do with Nestor. What's the other kid name? Ford. They'll be able to generate push up the middle, and so their ends can have an easier game.
Collapse the pocket.
Go ahead, Dave. What'd you say?
No, I said they'll collapse the pocket on him and you know, get him off his marks early, and he's not going to be able to adjust that quick, I don't think. So he's not going to get to that second read like Jock's been saying.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, I'm just a little confused as to where Louisville has, I guess, gotten all this hype from. You know what I mean? Because, you know, reading so much about this game, you know, I heard that some people, I guess, in the offseason or coming into the season had Louisville, I think, ranked like number 2 behind Clemson, which is, you know, crazy to me in the ACC because I think the ACC is really outside of Clemson. It's wide open.
It's a toss-up.
You know what I mean?
Everybody else.
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, again, I guess I'm more anxious to see this Louisville team just compared off of everything I've been reading and everything I've been hearing about Louisville because, again, all I have to go off of is last year. And again, I know that last year is different, but, you know, seeing what I saw last year, I just don't think that this team deserves the recognition that they've been getting so far. Now, if they can come out on Saturday night and prove it, I'll give it to them. Hopefully they can't. But as of right now, I mean, I just don't look at this Louisville team being the team that I guess everyone is talking about right behind Clemson in the ACC right now. I just can't can't see that.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff from everybody here today. Before we go, I wanted to bring up a little bit of an update that I was looking at. There's actually a pretty big game going on for recruiting purposes tonight for the Canes. You got Chaminade playing American Heritage, and right now at the half it's 7-3. But we've already seen a really big play from James Williams. I saw the video. Came from all the way across on the other side of the field and hit someone. I think it was a running back and knocked him back a few yards. So he's one of the top players in the country. But Buxi Silvera is also is a kid that plays for American Heritage, which obviously we know the name, right? It's Nesta's. I think is it his little brother or his cousin? It's a brother. They're related. Whatever.
I'm not sure.
You know. And then also Jamal Johnson, who got a strip sack, and Kenyatta Jackson, who's another big Canes recruit, also picked up the fumble and took it inside the 15. So just a little bit of a recruiting update there. I know big recruiting news is we're going to have to go hard at the cornerback position, at the defensive back position, because our numbers are dwindling there with only 5 scholarship kids. Obviously, we're going to need to see some play from Isaiah Dunson maybe this weekend, Marcus Clark, Brian Balaam, and some of the other kids, Keyshawn Washington, and some of the others. So it will be interesting to see what we do in the defensive backfield. Before we go, though, I did want to mention, David, the whole night, it looked like you were coming straight out of a Chinese karate movie, bro.
Nice.
Every time
What's
you were
up?
talking, you were
What's
either
up?
smiling, you had a huge-ass smile on your face.
Yeah, he
or
was.
you were quiet.
What's your prediction?
Hey, I have been
Oh,
watching,
yeah, I
I
did
have been
peep that.
watching Cobra Kai.
That was some Bruce
I've been
Lee type
watching Cobra
stuff,
Kai.
bro.
Rashad, what's your
frightening.
prediction?
Prediction for the game?
Yeah.
I have Miami. I'm gonna go Miami by 14. I am. Again, I'm not that confident in Louisville, and again, I'm basing it off of last year. And I know they have, I think 10 starters, if I read that correctly, coming back. But again, I just think Miami is more talented on both sides of the ball. And again, I just think the aspect of having De'Aaron King this year and having that fast-paced offense just is going to put a lot of teams in a lot of trouble moving forward. So I have Miami by 14, and I'm comfortable with that.
You got a score, or you want to give them a score?
Oh man, score.
We like scores. I don't like scores either, man. I don't like scores either.
Okay, I give you guys a score. I'm going to say this offense is going to start to click and be a little bit better in week 2. And knowing that this offense was able to put up 52 last year with the type of offense we had last year, I'm going to say Miami, they're not going to put up 52. I'm not going to go that high. I'm going to say Miami goes, I'm going to say 38. I'm going to say Miami 38. And I think Louisville is going to be able to score some points because, like Jock said, I think if Miami does have a weak link, I think it is at the corner position. So I think Louisville is going to be able to put up some points. So I'm going to go Miami 38, and I'm going to go Louisville 24.
John, what's your position?
I got Miami winning this game. I do think it's gonna be a shootout though. Just because I do think Louisville's receivers they're better. But then again, I think Miami, this could be a game where they step up. But like I said, the number one thing for me for Miami is how many the team comes out. They cannot come out flat. Because then if they come out flat, this game over. Because this team is at home. I think they have 18 or 20,000 fans. I'm not sure.
I think it's 18. Yeah, you're right. 18,000.
But I do got Miami winning 38-35.
Ooh.
Close game. All right. Yeah, I guess I'll go. I don't have a I think it's going to be a close game also. I think at the end, I think we're going to, they're going to want to come down and drive the field, and I think we're going to make a big play and get another turnover. So I got Miami 34-28.
I got Miami 35-24.
All right. There it is. Dave, Paul, Karate Kid, what do you got? What do you got over there?
Is Dave the Karate Kid or am I the Karate Kid?
No. What are you trying to say, man? Come on now.
Okay,
I'm Cobra Kai. What do you mean?
Humbly speaking, I was the closest one last week with my prediction, so I feel
nice.
confident with mine. I predicted 34-13 last week, so I was pretty close. This week I say 35-17 Miami. I just think that that third quarter last game was a microcosm of what Miami's offense is potentially. What could they become? And I feel like they involved Brevin a lot earlier in this game just to kind of get the offense in a groove and get their juices flowing. I think Louisville will have the yards, but they won't necessarily put up the points. I feel like Miami will force a couple turnovers this game as well. So I feel very confident with Miami winning by 18 in this game.
It's my favorite score so far, but David, what you got?
I got Miami 41-28.
There it is, 40 burger, baby.
I do. Another thing that's gonna have to be key for Miami is they are disciplined from their linebackers, safeties.
Oh, yeah.
Because with the play action pass that Louisville runs, they cannot be just hauling ass downhill or biting on the play fake. Because like I said, that's how they get their deep shots. So for the 17 points Paul want in the red zone, they got to be perfect eye discipline. Because like I said, if you drop back in zone coverage with this kid, he's gonna throw interceptions. Because once he don't see his first read, he coming back, and then he gets sporadic off the point. So
Awesome.
All eyes will be on number 8 on Miami's defense.
Oh yeah,
no.
DJ Ivy.
Ivy.
I got faith that he's gonna have a good game.
Yeah,
He's better.
I think he comes back and has a big game too.
I think he match up a little bit better with Louisville receivers anyway, because they kind of one dimensional. They deep route guys. They're most dynamic guys, Atwell, but
oh yeah.
the other
I
two
think Blades
guys
is
are.
going to shadow. I think Blades shadows Atwell. I mean, I don't know. Well, they kind of like to come on one side of the field, right?
No. Atwell, they move around a lot. They
Right. I'm talking about Blades. Blades, he stays on one side of the field, right?
They motion Atwell a lot. They work him outside the slot because obviously you can't press him in the slot or, get your hands on him because they like to move him around. But they use him in a heavy play action game. They give him a lot of luck, pitches and catches, so he could just use his speed, get upfield. Yeah, jet sweeps. They want to give him the football.
Honestly, real quick, one player I would like to see Blake Baker use a lot more on defense, as far as a player that if I was a defensive coordinator, I would just give him, I guess, more range throughout that defense is Bubba Bolden. Just looking at his energy, to me, he is the spark plug of that defense. I mean, again, I'm not trying to hype the kid up too much, but I just think he plays at another speed on that defense than anybody else.
It ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, yeah. But I think he's gonna get the first turnover though.
Yeah, again, I would like to see Blake Baker just kind of use him more as a chess piece, because I think a kid that plays with that much energy and that much intensity, I just think you have to let that kid just kind of roam free. And again, I don't know if he's earned that yet from Blake Baker, but I think for this defense to really become a really good defense, I would like to see throughout the course of the season them using Bubba Bolden more as a chess piece, kind of moving him around, because again, like I said, I just like the kid's intensity, his energy, like the way he plays on defense every single play.
Would you move him to striker?
Ooh, again, I don't know about that, because I don't think he's big enough for that. But I just think that a player that good and a player that moves the way he moves on defense, as far as being able to make plays anywhere, I just think I would give him more of the freedom to kind of be like, listen, if you pick up on subtle keys, hey,
go ahead and jump that.
Go for it.
The only reason I suggested that, because if you look across college football, their best defensive player does play in that striker position.
That's true.
Like you had Tyrann Mathieu there for LSU, where they was moving. He started out outside, then they moved him inside. They blitzed them. They used them like that. Isaiah Simmons was in the striker position last year. Like I'm just saying, because college uses their best defensive player and striker, and you can go ahead and start Carter and Hall at safety if you do that.
Yeah,
definitely, guys. Listen, guys, we got to wrap it up. I wish we could go even further, because this is good. I do want to say thank you to Rashad Butler for coming on the show.
Man.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Man.
Thank you.
Anytime.
We'll definitely do it again for Danny Gillette, David Eversole, Jock Givens, Paul Austria. I'm Jazz Santana. This has been the Six Rings Canes Show. By the way, tomorrow, 7 p.m., pregame. We'll be back at it to talk a little more right before the game starts. So go ahead and check us out there. See y'all later. Go Canes.